Hypnotherapy myth number 4. The recording will do 50% of the work after the hypnotherapy session. In hypnosis, we learn that the mind learns by repetition. So if you play a recording every day for 21 to 30 days, you will be able to rewire your thinking. It is true that we do learn by repetition, but that happens as a child in our environment, and it is a form of safety and survival. But because that program gets set as a child, when we get older, those programs are kind of stuck in place and they serve a purpose to keep us out of danger. So as an adult, when we try to rewire the mind based on the symptom that we're working on, it will usually not take, because the mind will deem it as an unsafe or dangerous way of living. Those programs were put into place as we were children, and it doesn't matter if our environment was a healthy one or a dangerous one. There is a thing called herd mentality, and we will behave like those around us. So diet, lifestyle, behaviors, all of those things are wired in as a kid for safety. So if you've ever followed a diet program or some kind of protocol, or you've done a book where they give you all of the steps to change the way that you do things for a positive outcome or for success, while you're following those protocols, everything is great. But you'll notice as soon as those structures are no longer in play, meaning you're not reading the book anymore, the diet, you've reached your goal as far as, let's say, weight loss, and so now you're not utilizing those tools anymore, you'll notice that all of a sudden you're going back to old habits and gaining weight, or not taking those steps anymore, or not implementing those habits. The reason is because that social program or behavior program that you put into place as a child is just that strong, and it believes that that lifestyle or that behavior of living is more safe than the one that you're trying to accomplish now. So even though you're supposed to listen to that recording for 21 or 30 days, you're supposed to miraculously stop behaving that way in that short amount of time. You're supposed to think and behave differently than before you took on that thing or that session. But they're temporary fixes for superficial problems. Now, some people do get lucky. They have the session, they listen to the recording, and maybe that issue that they were trying to fix wasn't that deep, and so they do get results. But if somebody was exposed to a lot of traumatic behaviors and experiences as a child, that is going to be a much harder thing to change, because there is a very deep meaning around the reason why they live that life, live that pattern, live that behavior. So no, the recordings are not necessarily going to do 50% of the work. There's no possible way to quantify that. Recordings will interrupt the processing that is done in a session, especially if the therapist or the coach or whoever's doing the hypnosis is putting beliefs or actions into the recording, or affirmations into the recording that they believe will benefit the client. While it does sound good and it has a relaxation effect on the body while listening to it, if the subconscious mind does not take those suggestions and rejects them, then they miss out on a good opportunity to find those resources for themselves after the session. And as in all of my recordings say, the mind does not like to be told what to do, especially if it has a safety program in place that it believes is better than the newer programming that we are trying to install in a person's mind. In ACH, when we are working with our client, we're never telling them what to do, and we do not do recordings because we do not want the processing and the breakthrough that happens in the session and around and after the session to be disrupted by words that don't come specifically from the client, or resources that come specifically from the client, while they are processing the information around why they had that problem and when they actually come up with the solutions for that problem or understand it on a deeper level and realize that that reason for having that issue no longer makes any sense. So if we give them those suggestions, they are most likely going to reject it because it didn't come from them. And now we might have ruined a really great resource that our clients could have come up with on their own. So it is not true that a recording will do that kind of work after the session.